Green text/story thread. Post stories of your encounters with paranormal or otherwise otherworldly things. Screen caps. Welcome to.
I used to work as a janitor at this chiropractic college. I don't know if this is standard, but they had real human cadavers that they kept there steeped in big tubs of, I assume, formaldehyde. These were whole human bodies, but without their skin. I sometimes had to help clean the containers they were kept in, and it was pretty disgusting work. Anyway, it was known among us cleaners that the college was haunted. People said it was the ghosts of the cadavers, which sounds kinda funny now, but it was spooky at the time. Anyway, I've got a few really short stories. Some of them might be nothing, but I figured I'd share them. Here's one of the first things that I ever witnessed. Early one morning. Scrubbing toilets. Hear footsteps. They enter bathroom. I stop scrubbing. It's too early for a student. Figure it's a coworker or a professor. Hear the squeak of a faucet knob. Water turns on. I peek out of the stall. The water's running. But there's nobody there. My face when. This only happened to me once, but I know of one other person who claims it happened to them too. Never could explain it. Another time. Empty classroom. Wiping windows. Room is on the second story. I spray Windex. Wipe the window clean. Then a human handprint spreads over the glass. WTF. Try to wipe the handprint clean. Can't. It's on the other side of the glass. Spooked. Finish wiping windows. Feel watched the whole time. Another thing that would always happen was people would constantly claim to find their stuff moved. Now I was skeptical of most of those stories. I thought it could have just been people forgetting where they left their stuff. But this one my coworker told me is hard to explain. Coworker is a young Mexican girl, very religious. The ghost stuff doesn't scare her at all. She says she just prays and they go away. By the way, most of the cleaners were Mexican. Luckily I speak a fair amount of Spanish, so it was no problem. Anyway, one day it's very early in the morning. The building is still practically empty. Very quiet too. My coworker is mopping down a long hallway. She's pushing her mop bucket behind her as she goes. Rolls the bucket a few feet, then goes back and mops until she reaches her bucket, rolls it a few feet, etc. The mop is filled to the brim with water. At one point she's almost reached her bucket again. But then she hears it moving. Looks back. Bucket is rolling on its own, away from her. After a few feet, it gently rolls to a stop. Coworker just prays and goes back to mopping. A few things got me about this story. 1. She didn't seem like the type to make it up. 2. I'd experienced something similar before. And 3. Those buckets when they're full of water need a real decent shove to get moving. They can't just roll away. Very strange. The one that happened to me is similar. I'm in the mop closet, that's where we fill mop buckets up. Roll bucket out, then step back into closet to grab a mop. Assemble mop. Leave closet. My mop bucket is rolling down the hall. Again, these things are heavy when they're full of water. And this was the wee morning hours. There was nobody around but me. Here's a different one. It happened in the cafeteria. It's separate from the main building and pretty big again, wee hours of the morning. Wiping down windows in the cafeteria. Too early for students. I'm all alone. There's one kinda tall window. Always require stretching up on my tiptoes to reach the top. Drinking a coffee at the time, set it down to clean this window. A minute later reach back for my coffee. It's gone. Just gone. Look around for it. Under table, on chairs. Nothing. For some reason this experience in particular freaked me out. Something about finding my coffee gone and facing the huge, empty cafeteria. Not a soul around. Frigging nope, man. I didn't even finish cleaning. Just grabbed my shit and GTFO, keck. I guess that's most of the ghost stories. I have one more. Might have a rational explanation. First of all, the cadavers I mentioned before. They were stored in their own separate little building. We called it the body room, not very creative, I know. Anyway, the body room was pretty small compared to all the other buildings. If you were in the main building, you could only see it from the east wing. Cleaners weren't usually allowed in there, and the professors who had access to it never went in until about 10 a.m. or so. That's when they did inventory or whatever, just making sure everything looked normal. As you can probably tell from my other stories, us cleaners got to work very early, before most people showed up. It was usually still dark outside. And that leads me into this story. Early morning. Cleaning in the east wing. Happened to glance out a window. Somebody's standing at the entrance to the body room. Keep in mind, the body room has lights that should be on. They illuminate the entrance. They're never off. But they're off now. And it's still very dark outside. I can't make out much about the guy except his outline. I can tell he's really skinny. He's kind of swaying and moving around really weird. This sets alarms off in my head. My first thought is it's a drug addict skulking around, maybe trying to break in. Watch him for a while. Then hurry down to front office and tell security, just a guy who could see the cameras. He says everything looks fine. I tell him the lights to the body room are out. He tells me they're fine. I tell him I saw someone out there and he says he'll review the footage. He says yeah, the lights went off for a few minutes. But nobody ever approached the body room. No person on the footage at all. Maybe it was my eyes playing tricks on me? But I was watching the guy for a while. My vision is fine. I have no idea what I saw. Some part of me thinks I saw a ghost of one of those cadavers.
I've got something. Before I begin, I'll provide some background info. I have Ukrainian and Romanian heritage, which is a pretty nice combo, and I was born in Ukraine. Basically, my home village lies not too far from the Romanian border. During the Soviet era, the border was even closer, and my dad as a kid used to screw with the border guards. He'd throw rocks near the barbed wire fences to sound alarms and shit. Mind you, this is in Carpathian mountain region, so you got dense forests and misty weather most of the time. During the Iron Curtain, the border patrols would do routine checks around the border in groups of about 4 to 6 guys. Each group would have a K9 unit for tracking. There also was a fine, powdered sand a couple of meters in width around the fences, which made it easier to spot tracks. So basically, these were super simple and very effective divide and conquer agile units. I don't want to hear any bullshit about a giant alcoholic army forming a Soviet human shield wall stereotype. Anyway, eventually some border guards befriended my dad. He was around 16 to 17 at the time, and they used to tell him stories about strange stuff that happened in those woods. Sometimes in the middle of the night the dogs would start randomly barking at some faint red eyes in the forest. But the eyes weren't eye level. They would be 5 to 15 meters above the tree line. In some cases the dogs would even hide under the beds or behind furniture for no apparent reason. Some border patrols would say they felt they were being watched and followed, but they'd never find any evidence proving it. Now back at the village, strange sightings/occurrences were sort of a normal part of daily life. The villagers would just chalk them up to unclean forces and not really give a shit. One time a woman who's probably related to me in some way or another was crossing a field to get home from another part of the village. It was getting late and the last rays of sunlight were disappearing. So she's walking on this dirt path and hears a baby crying. It's very faint, as if it's far away. But it starts getting closer and closer. Eventually the sound of the baby is so close enough that she expected to hear other sounds, like grass moving or bushes rustling, or anything indicating that somebody was walking around. But all she heard was the baby's cries, very close and growing closer. She instinctively noped the hell out of there and ran as fast as she could back to her home. Some people that I talked to about it told me it sounded a lot like some sort of Wendigo/skinwalker trap, but this is Eastern Europe, so I don't think that was the case. Whatever it was, the woman said that it was close enough that she would have been able to see it if it wasn't so dark out.
First time I went hunting with my dad and grandpa, I saw something that looked like a tree move really strangely, then disappear. 11 years old, Virginia. Dad, grandpa, and me out hunting. Practicing my aim, just holding the gun steady on a tree. One of those thin, white birch trees, pick-related. As I'm doing this, the tree suddenly curves. Looks just like a finger curling. Very fluid motion, and no noise. I'm about 20 feet away max. Then it kinda shuffles over to the right a couple of feet. Disappears into a thick cluster of trees. Never see it again. Grandpa tells us we need to GTFO out now. Dad seems confused and I tell him what I saw. He goes quiet. We all hurry back to the truck. Drive home in silence. The part that sticks out in my mind is how I was certain I was looking at tree bark. But when the tree bent, the bark wrinkled up like skin.
Be me, last month. Chilling out after work, being comfy. Watching anime. Gets to the good part. Hear a loud smack come from my TV, and it falls over. Please be the neighbor hammering.jpg. No hammering noises. Put my TV back up and try to find a reasonable explanation. Wham! God friggin' damn it, what now? My friggin' cupboard where I keep my plates is open. The cupboard door is across the kitchen. My face when? Not the spookiest shit possible, but I'm still pretty spooked.
My father told me many stories about witches, ghosts, magic and other spooky stuff happening. My father and my uncle lived in the middle of the Danube Delta in a little village now almost depopulated when they were little. These stories happened in the 1960s up to the 1970s, and most stories are corroborated by his brother and my grandparents that also lived there. I'll talk first about the witches. The village had two witches, a good witch and a bad witch. The two of them did not interact with one another. The bad witch lived alone in her home at the end of the village and was well respected and feared. Her house and yard were clean as a whistle, but nobody cleaned it. Villagers would pass by her street only walking with their backs to her house and would leave her food, water and everything she would need. Weekly, she would mind her own business mostly and rarely would leave her house, and when she did, every villager would go in their houses or the church and pray. She had a pet ferret, fully black and larger than normal. My father told me that those that wanted to see her or talk to her must first go in front of her house and prostrate themselves, keeping their eyes on the ground. Then she would walk out and talk to the person that needed her help. One time after a wedding, a group of drunk guests from another town started to throw rocks and make a mess by breaking a few windows, pissing on the fence, shit drunkards do. Then a grueling screech and was heard, and one of them died on the spot while others pissed their pants and ran away mumbling like madmen. None of them spoke ever again, as if they were mute from birth, but one of them wrote that he has nothing else to say to the world and that his silence was, well deserved. The face of the dead body was eaten by her ferret. The good witch was an active member of the community and was sought after by many people, some even from far villages. She dealt with curses, hexes, herbal remedies and the like, but also with demonic possessions, blessings, etc. At full moon and some nights the entire town was going with lanterns into the nearby forest to find herbs. Hundreds of people would go in the middle of the night to find herbs, but only the ones that she instructed. After a few hours, all the people would return in the middle of the village and give her the herbs. She would burn some in front of the church and others would be dried and made as potions. One time my uncle and his grandfather took the boat and transported the witch to a nearby village. In that village a young woman was said to be possessed. She would speak tongues and was gagged, immobilized by some village men for 2 days straight, apparently working in shifts to keep the woman safe. For 2 full days she was held until the witch came. When she did, she asked the members of her family for their biggest, baddest, meanest goat. When they brought the goat in front of the 2 women, the goat started to act just like the young woman, seemingly mad. Then she asked everybody in the house to leave and she did her stuff. After around 2 hours the witch leaves the house with a now quiet, obedient goat following her. She takes the goat near the water and drowns it. The goat did not fight it at all. The young woman is fine. After the communists came into power they made a concentration camp in a nearby town. The convoys of prisoners would pass through the village to the camp, and from the camp they would come with bodies to be buried. Some people would try to escape only to be shot immediately. Hundreds if not thousands of people were killed and buried in the area. Some people would claim they would hear the cries of dead and they would hear the sound of the carriages and the horses that took them to the camp. One early morning there were found 3 bodies in the middle of the street. The bodies were putrefied and dirty and they were sun-bleached. But how could they be sunburned if the sun was just rising? Some people claimed they were Moroi. The village priest and some villagers go to the communal grave. They return white as a sheet and visibly disturbed. The bodies are taken to the church and an ad hoc ceremony takes place. They are buried properly and their graves are caged. Fishermen would sometimes go missing. This was not considered unusual, but in a very small period of time a very large amount of men would disappear. The Danube is calm and the fishermen were all experienced. Their boats would be found adrift with their haul of fish intact, so no way it would be thieves that kill people and dump the bodies in the river. This keeps going on for a while. About 15 people missing at this point. Their wives are not that upset about it. An old man says that spirits called Sanzine are at fault and that they can only be talked to on the day of St. John the Baptist. He says that if you put water in your ears and you hear your ears ringing weirdly, evil spirits live in the water. He warns the fishermen not to go alone at night and to put water in their ears and check if there are evil spirits around. The day of St. John the Baptist comes and he decides to talk with the Sanzine. He takes his boat and goes together with his son but tells him to never talk, not open his eyes and pray the entire time. They wait a long time but eventually he sees figures resembling women dressed in a simple white garb. He speaks with them and pleads them to leave the fishermen alone. They tell him that those men that died were treating their wives badly and that the wives came together and wanted their husbands gone. The old man is spared because he was kind to his wife and that his son was proof of that. The spirits leave. There are other stories I could tell you but they're not that interesting. Things like animals behaving weirdly, cows not making milk because of some petty curse, children having weird birthmarks, etc. But it would take a lot of time and I need to go to bed.
First time posting a green text but it's true, pics included and even coordinates. Be me. B14. B October to November of 2018. B in high school. Me and my stupid ass friends had broken into an abandoned house a few days ago. Pic is the house in question. My buddy Jaden comes up to me at lunch. Let's go to the trap house after school. We had decided to call it a trap house, lol, despite not being one. Okay, didn't think much of it and thought it would be fun. End of the day comes. Meet up with Jaden at the outside of our high school. Walk to the house. It's not even that far from our school, a block or so away in a weird little neighborhood. The first time we went into this house it was filled with Catholic shit, crosses, paintings of Jesus and other religious stuff. The house itself had a friggin' awful vibe to it. Feel just like straight hatred and the feeling I do not belong there, and to leave the entire time I was inside the house every time I went. My friends think I'm a pussy and retard for feeling weird in an empty, abandoned house. Okay guys. PNG. Feel like I am being watched cliché, but it feels like when someone is right behind you and even if you don't know it you're aware of it. This place isn't right. Today would prove me right. Me and buddy walking to the house down a road called Watch Avenue. We get around the corner and enter the empty field next to the house. Get this feeling not to enter while standing in the empty lot near the house. My body just won't let me get any further, my legs feel like posts cemented into the ground below me. My friend, Jaden asks me what's wrong. Say, I don't know, I don't feel right about this, I'm not going in there but you can. Calls me a pussy, and a bitch, for not wanting to enter it. I literally do not give a shit about what he says, am not entering this house. Buddy goes to investigate. Buddy goes around the side to the back door, which had been unlocked as we broke a window to get inside and unlock it for easier access. Tech. He's gone for not even 20 seconds. Comes bolting back towards me, pale and a bugged out look on his face. WTF dude.jpg. He runs up to me, hands on his knees, panting hard as hell, he has asthma, and trying to catch his breath. After a moment or so he regains his breath and his retarded asthma backs off. He begins to tell me what he saw. Said he thought he saw a person in there. Begins to tell me the person was dressed in all black. Had pearly white eyes. And was child-sized. Pic sorta related. Back door of house enters into kitchen and bathroom, someone could have been hiding in there, I rationalized. I think he's bullshitting for sure. Finally gain composure and am ready to fight the demons or whatever the hell is in this house. Let's go. MP4. Have my buddy come with me up to the back porch of this house. Tell him to wait here, and if he hears a struggle or me yelling to come in and help, our plan in case I got attacked by a hobo or something. He's waiting at the back door. Enter through the long, dark hallway of the back porch edition of this house, my eyes straining in the dark to see anything as there was large pieces of plywood over the windows at this time to prevent a burglars from getting or some squatters. That weird feeling comes back. It becomes too frigging powerful as I enter the kitchen. Go into the bathroom to check, the feeling is overwhelming me, like I literally could not breathe in that house. Get the smell of a skunk or some kind of gas leak, sulfuric smell. I wish I was bullshitting you guys, but that's what I smelt. Look around in several of the downstairs rooms. My instincts are yelling for me to leave. Enter the kitchen again, ready to leave. And just like a pin drop in the middle of a silent night, hear a loud creak above me, like someone putting some weight onto one of the floorboards of the steps going up to the second floor, which lead into the kitchen and living room from a landing. If someone wanted to, they could catch me if they got down the stairs before I got out of the hallway of back porch edition thing. Frigging book it out the house, heartbeat racing with zero shits of how much sound I was making exiting this damn place. My buddy is looking at me scared. Tell him I felt weird in the house again. He said he felt that way before going in there but just played it off. What the hell? We bring it back up a week or so ago. House is now lived in by people, was repaired by some guys who bought it after we broke in, and the police were brought to it to investigate. Talking about demons and interdimensional beings. I researched the place more. Austrian immigrants who were Catholic and spoke German lived here. A priest lived here. A Croatian guy lived here. Austrian dude who had 5 sons' father was killed in an assassination in 1908, you can look this up. The dude who was murdered was named Anton Haberl. They were coal miners, not uncommon for our location back in the 1900s. Shot by another miner on Thanksgiving Day 1908. Damn. Last son died in December 2015. None of them had any children or married. Their family died with the last son. My friend thinks the excess of the Catholic shit was because a demon was attached to the place. Thinks the priest blessed the house. I'm not sure what to think. He doesn't ever want to talk to me about it anymore. So, /x/, if my friend wasn't bullshitting me, did we encounter a demon or a shadow being? I'm led to believe myself it was a demonic entity. My friend's theory about the Catholic relics made a lot of sense. I have never been a believer of the paranormal, skeptic but open-minded. Most YouTube videos are fake as hell, but if my buddy wasn't making this up, we may have encountered something strange in an abandoned house. Lol.
Gotcha one here, mother lovers. Be me, aged 29. At my grandpa's old lakeside cabin. Sitting on the porch trying to smoke myself into a stone stupor. So frigging high, I can feel the bones in my ankles. See an old ass man walk out of the water. All of my what.png. Think I'm just seeing shit cause I'm high as giraffe pussy on an airplane. He waltzes up to me like he owns the entire like. Grabs me by the shirt. Oh shit, this is real. Bring my bong over my head and swing. Shatter it on his forehead. He's dazed for a moment and sprints back into the water, barking like a pissed off shih tzu. To this day I have no clue if I clubbed a merman with my bong or just hallucinated so hard I bonked the mailman.
Gonna be a two-parter here, using a trip to make the process a bit easier. Live in Tucky. Place is a boring fucking shithole and creepy to boot. In Louisville for a weekend to visit an old friend while he's at uni. We've been tearing up bars almost every night for the past 2 days. Sunday night and we're out walking. Deep in jogger territory, but since we're not wearing any kind of gang colors or doing anything stupid, we're probably alright. Only brought a knife with me cause I'm no enemy of Tyrone. Street is pretty well lit. At this point we're looking for a little hole in the wall bar ran by some black grandma. You haven't fucking lived until you've had black grandma fried chicken with a big ass beer. So far it's all been nothing but Jamal dens and shitty apartments. We'll find one eventually. Further ahead of us we see a dude come stumbling out of a building. Think our luck has changed, that's gotta be a bar. Wait, that wasn't a building, he just came out of the alley. He starts running in the opposite direction. Clench my cheeks and get my knife ready. Holy shit. A naked dude comes hauling ass out of the alley on all fours, balls dangling in the wind. I can't believe my frigging eyes. My friend's jaw is on the concrete, and his eyes are bugged out so far he could probably take a step and have make contact with General Butt frigging Naked's nutsack. The skin-clad Avenger is galloping after the stumbler at a breakneck pace. Swear you can hear his sack clapping against his ass. Kicking up some serious dust. I'm still dumbfounded. I'm about to say it's bath salts and bail, but then the unbelievable crosses the line into impossible. The cock and ball crusader has closed the gap and he's on the guy. I can almost hear the guy's vertebrae crack, as the nightmare nudist bites the back of his neck and jerks his head back and forth. Holy F, holy F, holy F. The thing turns to look at us and I swear it's got the biggest shit-eating grin I've ever seen. It's almost like it's saying watch this. It grabs the dude and yanks him into a frigging storm drain. Me and my buddy duck into an apartment lobby and call the cops. No idea what to say, just tell them the truth. Officer looks at us like we're retarded but takes the statement down regardless. Didn't expect much else, to be honest. Get ourselves an Uber because there's no frigging way we're walking back after that shit. Pick related, my face every time I have to be anywhere near a storm drain.
I live in SE, KY, can confirm it's a disaster. Chillaxing on my porch. Live in a pseudo-suburb, only way I can describe it. It's a little neighborhood right next to a big-ass forest and about 10 minutes from town. My crazy-ass neighbor is outside. Hear the bastard yell, "Get the hell out of my goddamn collard greens." What the hell? Dude starts dumping shell after shell from his 12 gauge into his frigging garden. About to go inside when I see a little man, about 1.5 feet tall, with a little hat go hauling ass out of his garden into the woods. My face when my neighbor just shot at a gnome and now we're all gonna get pranked.
Be me, 18, just graduated high school. It's 12 a.m., about to hit the sack because I've been gaming it up on PC. Drifting to sleep in bed as I begin to think about how horrible it would be if someone broke into my house while I slept. Sleep with sleeping mask, so I put it down over my eyes and just go the hell to sleep. Wake up at like 1:30 a.m., feeling kinda startled. Mask is a little twisted up in my face from tossing in bed, so the corner one side is uncovering my eye. Able to see corner of my room, see someone standing there. After confirming that there is, indeed, someone standing there with their head down, they pounce onto my bed. They fall on top of me and begin to choke me. Nibba WTF.jpg. toss my arms in front of me and swing this mother lover off me along with my covers into the wall next to my bed with the strength of God himself. Leap out of bed and sprint like Usain Bolt towards door. Pull that shit without twisting doorknob first. Door literally frigging bends down the middle and almost breaks because I'm so scared. Twist knob and actually swing open the door, slamming it against the wall loudly. Once again channel Usain Bolt's spirit and sprint to my parents' room. I stand at the foot of their bed, breathless and panicked, and after about 5 seconds I yell at them to wake up, tell them somebody jumped on me in my room. Dad brings shotgun out and we go check room. Nothing there, just my covers on the side of the bed. Stay up talking to friend until 6 a.m. and then just pass out in my bed from exhaustion. True story.
Be me. Retarded kid who's really into ghost hunting. Grab a camera and go with my homies to the abandoned house in our neighborhood. I go into the bathroom and snap a picture of the mirror. Literally get scared by my own reflection. Run out of there like a little bitch. My brothers are all outside waiting for me. They all look like they shit themselves. What happened, guys? They frigging saw hands reach out of the fireplace in the living room. Kinda pissed cause I got scared of my own reflection and they saw some spooky shit.
Be me. B14. UK fag. Bored as shit. Call up friends, tell them we're going to explore the woods. Friends arrive. Go deep into woods, trying to find deer or something. About 2/3 of an hour into our trek into the forest. Friend is complaining that he's getting spooked. Tell him to shut the hell up as we head deeper into the forest. It's starting to get dark. Wander into a lightly wooded clearing. Old ass stone Celtic cross standing in the middle. Pick related, just covered in moss and what seemed to be really frigging old runic carvings. Friends collectively lose shit at this. They're discussing how old it probably is and whether or not we might be the first people to find it in eons. Decide to take a closer look. Shit def looks old. Walk over to the back. There are blood smears on it as if someone came up and just started to wipe blood on it. Can vaguely see older blood stains under the moss. Take a few steps back, slightly concerned about why there's so much frigging blood on it. Bump into something. Turn around. It's a frigging person. The guy is wearing a camo jumpsuit and a tree bark mask that looks like an animal skull. WTF.MP4. Look around. There's more of the bastards, all arranged in a circle around us. Friends haven't noticed them yet. They're standing so still that you wouldn't frigging notice them unless you either knew where to look or were right up in their face. Tell friends we should get back. Friends call me a piss baby. One of them throws a rock at me. Rock misses and hits one of the masked guys. Guy lets out an audible grunt as it whacks him on the head. Friends are now aware that they're there. Fight or flight. EXE has started responding. Decide to frigging book it because me and my friends are just a collection of scrawny teens and they're all muscular and well over 6 foot. Start running through the woods, nearly tripping over multiple times. Look back. They're not giving chase. They're just trailing us with their heads, watching us as we BTFO. Keep running the entire way back. Get home. Friends all walk back to their places together. Parents are confused about why TF I look so pale. Don't tell them anything. My face when I find decapitated animal corpses outside my bedroom door every now and then. My face when I don't own any pets.
I grew up in a poor shithole. The neighboring house empty. Age 12, me and my best friend decided to explore. Everything boarded up. Took us 2 days to finally pull open a boarded window. We climbed in with our military flashlights, excited and full of energy. The first room was as expected, dusty and paint chips everywhere. Every room the same, we were disappointed and deflated. Finally, we mustered the courage for the basement. Also boarded and nailed shut. An hour to open it. pull it open and swear to leave right after, as it was 8 p.m. in the summer and the sun fading. She was at the bottom of the steps, pale. She didn't speak, she just ran toward us. I can't remember how long it took to run back through the window, but it seemed hours. I never talked to my friend again, even when we passed in the hall. She looks at me every night when I close my eyes. I can't live like this.
Be me. In middle school. Summer of 2012, remember, because we all watched the London Olympics another night. My dad and his friend's family rented a little house in the Bahamas for us to vacation for a few days. Have a bunch of activities planned, including a scary story contest and visiting some island with stingrays on my dad's friend's boat. Let's call him Mark. Screenshot some creepypasta about a lightbulb creature on my iPod Touch. Play around on the beach until nighttime. It's story time. First story is my little sister. Some campfire story, hook hand slasher type shit. Can't tell a story to save her life. Confident to the point of arrogance I'm gonna win. Next up is Mark's son Marty. Kid has to be like 8 or 9. Can't even remember the story, just that I was thinking I was going to win so hard the whole time. Mark asks if I want to go next. No, I've got a really good one, so I'll go last. Mark starts off by saying he's not sure if it's cheating because it's not really a story, so much as something he had heard from Kevin the other day. Kevin is some guy that worked on his boat from the island. Says he was asking Kevin for good spots he'd recommend, places to eat or check out, particularly places where kids can hang out while the adults do their thing and drink a little. Kevin gives him a few spots to check out, but told him to pass a warning on to us as well. Do not follow the dogs. Dogs? Do not follow the dogs. Island is full of strays, don't understand the big deal though. Explains how there's some people on this island that don't practice the same stuff as everyone else, stuff their ancestors brought with them. Tells us about voodoo and how there's still people here that really believe in it. These people are crafty, he says. Obviously they don't do this shit out in the open or during the day. They go about taking what they need much more subtly. One of my brothers asks what he means by that. Human sacrifices. They need human sacrifices to perform their rituals, and that every so often people will disappear off the face of the island. They say that what they do is they'll lure in unsuspecting people out of view where they can snatch them using the dogs all over the island, almost as if they can control them like some sort of voodoo Pied Piper. Kids especially like the dogs, so they'll play with them a little and then lead them out of sight where their masters can spirit them away. And that's why I'm telling you guys. Do not follow the dogs. I remember thinking that he did a pretty good job of telling the story, right before my dad walks back into the house. He asks how the scary stories were going, if anyone had told any good ones yet. We all just sorta smile and nod. Mark asks him if he enjoyed his cigar. Dad says he's not done, he just came in to grab a little water and bread for a stray dog that came up to the porch. Worry.jpg just for a moment. Mark fills him in with the same story he had just told us, repeating do not follow the dogs, with the same emphasis every time. Worse hearing it the second time around. Dad says screw it, he'll just go get his cigar real quick and come back in. Mark's kid Marty pulls on my dad's hand. No anons dad, you can't go outside. Seems like the story is really hitting home with him. Insists on not letting my dad go outside. Mark's wife just rolls her eyes. Tells Marty he doesn't have to worry, it's all fake, he and my dad probably planned it all ahead of time. See the logic behind that, it's just a little too convenient how he came in right after the story ends. She's going on about how she knows her husband and my dad, and that's exactly the kind of shit those bastards would pull. Marty looks like it's starting to make sense to him too. But that's when we hear the barking. Marty looks like he saw death, he had this frozen, deer in the headlights look. All of what Mark's wife said gets thrown out the window. There is no way these two guys could have planned this, right? Mark's wife is still unfazed. I don't exactly remember what was said, but she eventually decides that she'll go out and give it some water so it'll go away. Mark calmly tries to stop his wife. He just keeps saying it. Do not follow the dog. Back and forth between them, which is mostly him telling her not to follow the dog. The entire time she's not listening to him and tells him to stop because he's really scaring Marty. She steps towards the sliding glass door with a bowl of water in her hand. Marty tries to stop her too. He's visibly desperate, looks like he genuinely doesn't want to lose his mom. Eventually she compromises for her hysteric kid's sake and just leaves the bowl of water right outside the glass door. Some medium-sized, brown and white dog walks up to the glass door and starts lapping up the water from the bowl. Right after it finished, it just starts pawing at the glass door. He only did it for like a minute or two, but we all sat in silence watching the whole thing until it left. I don't think anything would have happened to either of the adults had they gone out, but I can't help but wonder from time to time exactly how far back the line between fact and fiction got drawn that night.
Be Me and a Friend, circa 2006. At a small, poor fisherman village near a river, Colombian Pacific coast. Dense, humid tropical jungle. Sun is almost down and we're all tipsy after having a few beers. Decide to visit the tiny local cemetery on our way to the campsite. Giggling at funny, misspelled names on tombstones. Couple hours later it starts to rain AF as we're getting ready to sleep. All of a sudden we hear something moving really fast. It goes from the main stone road to where we are, like 20 feet away. Our tent is over a wooden platform held by pillars, nothing but plants, rocks, etc. below us. The thing, whatever it is, zigzags through the vegetation very rapidly between the pillars. At a not normal speed, no animal or person can move that fast. All of a sudden it hits hard against one of the wooden columns, and everything goes silent. Just rain pouring. Wave. We have no idea what's going. Friend is also kind of a skeptical, but terrified. MP4. Few seconds/minutes pass and it does the same thing again, and again. We just stay there listening. After this shit repeating several times, all we can hear is the rain falling. We lie down on our sleeping bags and continue to listen. After a while I hear it again coming from the road. It's down below the structure, but no zigzagging this time. Next thing I hear is like a nail or claw slowly scratch the wooden planks right below where my ear/head was jump scared as shit. Anon, did you hear that? Snoring. If. Spend the rest of the night listening while Anon sleeps.
Camping alone 20 miles in a woods. Have my camp set up on an old concrete platform/foundation I found. Night falls. Standing on edge of platform. Nobody around. Something kicks me hard in the ass, knocks me off platform. That's what I got.
I've got a similar in a woods story I never bothered telling because it's so short and has no narrative. Be camping with friends. It's night, we're sleeping. Get up to piss. See cat eyes reflecting firelight about 100 feet off. Cougars are common in that area. But I'm with 3 other people and we have a fire so I don't worry. Piss. Go back to sit by tent and watch the cat's eyes. I figured it would move on, but we sit there for a good 10 minutes, just watching each other. It paces back and forth a bit but never seems to blink. After a bit I get curious so I grab the high power flashlight. Shine it on cat's eye lights. Nothing there. Fairly open ground, eye lights are fairly close, but there's just open ground where the cat's body should be. Wake up friends to show them the Cheshire Cougar. One of them sees it. By the time the other 2 are out it disappeared. Dude who saw it and I take turns on watch for remainder of the night. No spooky feeling, no weird smells of inexplicable dread, we just saw what might have been a ghost lion.
Any Anon can help with this entity or whatever happened. It 100% happened, and I don't know what it was. Me and wife on holiday in Ireland. Staying at a hotel in Limerick. Normal holiday, nothing out of the ordinary. Second night in hotel, have a couple drinks and go to bed. Normal hotel room, Double bed, kitchenette type area and door opposite end to bed in corner. Lie in bed, go on phone and slowly drift off to sleep. Wake up and room looks exactly the same but except half of the door is a 6-foot tall 3-foot wide black shadow. Y.jpg. As soon as I noticed it, the shadow flies straight at me into my body. Feel intense fighting feeling at some energy type level. Like lying on your back but not paralyzed but too focused on fighting whatever the hell is happening. Feeling electric shocks in spine and continue fighting whatever is happening. Saying piss off over and over. Eventually it leaves after what I guess felt like a stalemate of sorts, like two guys who can't beat either at an arm wrestle. Must have slept a bit, then woke up again, and seeing the exact same room I looked straight at the door and remembered everything. Look at wife and she's out cold, can't even tell her, cause she's terrified of ghost type events. Forget the whole thing and then continue holiday. Any idea what happened or if it happens again, a way to beat the thing that attacked me?
Found this GIF for reference, closest thing I've ever found to it. Be me. B10. Be in a woods at grandma's. Playin' in the yard. Swinging around dried up giant hogweed stems like I'm Donatello and not a spaz. Generally just frigging around and killing time like a prisoner during his hour of yard time. Just wanna play Ratchet and Clank. Gotta go outside and get fresh air, no thanks, I just wanna be a little fat boy. Kick a soccer ball against a slide from an old playset, it sits next to the tree line on the property. It rolls back down the slide at me, repeat. Notice movement beyond the playset in the trees, couple branches fall. Wind blowing quite powerfully through them. Looks like nothing I've never seen before, birch trees are fragile when they get old. Get tired of kicking the ball and grab my hogweed stick again, face the house to make sure I can see if my grandma comes out. Coast is clear. Time to be cringe. Pretend to be the avatar and airbend the wind, only being caught doing the Kamehameha would be more embarrassing. Whoosh, I airbend the branches down. Keep eyes locked on house to make sure grandma doesn't regret frigging granddad and making me through proxy. Whoosh, God I'm good at airbending, more branches crash and fall into the dead leaves below. Gotta spin though, it's not airbending unless you spin. Crouch down and spin like Aang, as I move around my eyes lock on something very big, and impossibly tall looking at me and it is very close. Time slows down, I stop dead in the middle of my spin. It's huge and it has absolutely no shape besides being man-shaped. Long arms, going down past its knees. Long legs, it's gotta be at least 8 to 10 feet tall, its head is taller than clothesline my grandma has strung up, which is around 10 feet. Just taller than the playset. It's slender, but slender for a 10-foot tall creature, not the profile of a bear, oh and it lacks all discernible features whatsoever. I shall continue in a moment. It's behaving like it is in the gift but much slower. Kind of darting its head behind trees, but it darts the way a sloth would. What the hell am I looking at? I live in Canada and the northern interior in BC. I know wildlife and what is around here, there aren't any shadow creatures I've ever heard of. I am looking at something so frigging alien I feel like I can't even comprehend looking at it. Thinking about it even now gives me a frigging headache, ever thinking about it does and it genuinely scares the piss out of me. Like thinking about it reminds it of me somehow. Glad I have roommates. Feel anxiety from being seen being cringed by a frigging old god than anything, but now the fear is creeping in. Why is it just looking at me and hiding? Remember core class in school? Predators have forward-facing eyes. Pinpoints of light are glinting at me amidst the black that makes up the head. It is 100% no foolies looking right frigging at me. Feels like I'm frozen in time, don't dare move. Holy shit, I feel like I'm a deer in the headlights. Deer in the headlights. Oh shit, I'm a deer in headlights. Snap out of it, turn and run for the house, it's about 50 feet to the front porch, thing was standing 30 feet away roughly. I flat out know that I probably won't make it the second I make the decision to run. Double down. Don't look, just run harder. Run as hard as I possibly can. No time for breathing, you can breathe when you get inside if you get inside. Time slows down again as I get near the door. I can't hear anything behind me, I can't hear anything, all sound has fallen away. Reaching out for the door feels like it's taking years. I'm moving through molasses, and as I'm grabbing the door I'm calculating the time it would take for it to catch up to me at the door. I'm not gonna make it. Don't look. Don't look or you're dead. Just get inside. Fling screen door open, grab knob, throw shoulder into door as hard as I can, I need inside. Mind is racing as I fall through the door. It hits me that I'll have to turn around to close the door. It's going to come in after me. I don't even know if it followed me. Everything just shut off. The entire universe is me and this door. Fear washes over me in a wave and time feels like it's slowing down even more. Feel each individual heartbeat moving through my body. Thunk. Oh my God, did it get me? Thunk. I didn't make it, I'm going to die, why can't I move faster, I just want to move faster. Thunk. Everything is going so slow because I'm dead, that has to be it, this is what happens before you die, that's the only explanation. Thunk. I'm going to die when I turn around, once I turn around it's going to be there. Thunk. It will push me out of the way and it will kill my grandma after it kills me. Thunk. I finally wheel around, there's nothing. Everything starts returning to a normal flow of speed, lose all of my energy, feel so weak like I'm going to pass out. Use all of my strength to push door shut. Fall down against door. I haven't breathed since I started running. Suck in massive breath. Scream in horror. Scream so long and loud my grandmother comes running assuming I'm hurt. She's confused as I appear unhurt, then gets angry because I'm not saying anything, I quite literally couldn't. Can't stop screaming, in the same way you can't control a fit of laughter. The screaming and fear was all I could do. Grandma stops being mad, is now getting scared, locks door. Goes to back door and locks it. After a few minutes I come to my senses. WTF is your problem, you spastic? Tell her there was a tall man watching me. Tell her it wasn't a man though. Don't know what I saw. What's funny is I actually had run into this thing when I was 7 a few years before as well. When I remembered this as a kid a few days after I saw it again I shat absolute bricks. I don't go into the woods alone ever. Honest to God truth, all of it.
Don't want to just cut in. But screw it. Here's my story. It's odd because I usually call bullshit on the mimic green text. But this actually happened, so maybe those are real. Be me. Freshly turned 18. Get offered job at state park. Kind of like a ranger but without the pay and all the responsibilities. I start my job relatively excited like most people. Job requires that I take guests through cave system. Learn everything available about cave and flowers and trees. That kind of shit. Spend most of my days making easy money. Come in, have coffee, run about 3 tours. Blow paths off with leaf blower. Sit on 2nd story ranger base, and drink coffee watching the sunset as the park goes quiet. Things were peaceful and I loved it. About 4 months in, weird shit starts happening. Doing a tour one day. Hear my coworker calling me from inside a restricted part of the cave. Heavy rain floods parts of this cave, and we have to lock them down from employees and guests. 6 feet of water in pitch darkness. No frigging way he was back in there. Everyone in your heard it, and things got tense after. Finished up that tour with no tips because everyone rushed off. Stupid kid, so I go back into cave with flashlight. Flashlight barely illuminates cave. Get to the largest room in the cave. Water around ankle depth. Hear what I think at first is water dripping. Slowly come to realize something is walking very carefully through the water. Just outside of Walmart flashlight's range. Lunge over and hit the light button. Water has apparently fried the light system. Again. Sprint out of cave like a little bitch. That weird feeling of being chased whole time. Start doing research on this park and its cave systems. Asking rangers about past. They act really frigging weird about it. Drop hints that the marketed history of the park isn't full truth. Should I continue Annans? The crazier shit is yet to happen. Get tired of going in circles with rangers. 3 weeks later I'm sitting on a trail eating a granola bar. Sitting on limestone cliff edge. This area the river cuts through the limestone and dries up into a drop-off during dry season. Suddenly hear female coworker scream for help. Jump up and radio in. The girl I just heard scream for help answers. Just hurry back to ranger station. This thing keeps imitating me to my coworkers as well. It's been 3 weeks of rainfall. Cave is flooding. Most days consist of trying to stay dry and warm. Occasional mad lad tourists want to go through. One day drinking coffee while it pours down. Talking to cashier buddy. We start talking about the weird shit. Just spill it all, expecting him to think I'm schizo. He gives me a blank look. Yeah, that'll happen. Nibble what? Turns out he was a tour guide for 20 years. Same shit used to happen constantly. One day during pour down I have to clean bathrooms. Shuffle into crawlspace/storage room for chemicals. Start mixing the cleaners up. Hear a mop in the farthest end of the crawlspace fall. Glance over expecting possum or some shit. See nothing. Go back to mixing. Hear an actual voice. Not an imitation. It actually speaks. Raspy ass voice that sounds like a smoker. Come over here anon. Soft chuckle after. I panic. Just blurt out, piss off. Turn around and hurry out of crawlspace. Glance around to see dunked and skeletal face peeking around the corner at me. Run right into coworker. Lock the storage door. We all are suspiciously fired within a month. I don't know what it was. Maybe some kind of cave animal we haven't found, or maybe some weird Native American creature. I'm no expert. But I was smart enough to piece together the rangers are hiding something about the natives and deaths at the park. I also know that they found a cave with an extremely lively aquatic biome in the same park, and that the tour cave is attached to these massive, live cave systems.